everybody. This video is going to go over the homework assignments for the Week 9 module. So when you click on the Week 9 Homework Assignments tab, you'll see quite a few items listed. The first is the chapter readings. It's asking you to read over chapters 26 and 29. Again, it's more of a refresher. It is just a review of all the information that I cover in the material in the Week 9 module, right? So don't spend a whole lot of time going over it. The next item listed is, of course, the Week 9 journal. This is very much like Week 8's journal, where I've given you a list of topics that we've covered throughout the course, and I want you to choose 3 of them and discuss what your prior experience was with those topics, what your experience in this course has been like, what you've struggled with, what you've done well with, what you think we needed to spend more time on or not so much time on, that sort of thing. So you've got grammar and mechanics, thesis statements, introductions and conclusions, paragraph development, and APA format. So out of those 5, choose 3 to discuss in the journal entry. The next item for homework this week is Week 9 Assignment 1, reference page entries. Alright, so I have said several times throughout the course that we are not writing a research paper for this class. However, I do want you to get some practice with some of the technical elements of writing a research paper in APA format. So that is what this assignment is going to give you a chance to do, is to get some practice on creating reference page entries and then taking those entries and creating a references page in APA format. I've done most of the legwork for you. So what you'll see underneath where I've explained the assignment, you'll see 6 bullet points. Each bullet point is a different type of source. And then I've given you all the information about that source. So for instance, the first bullet point says a book that has only one author. And then I tell you the book is titled Psych and the author is A. Spencer Rathus. The book was published by Cengage Learning in Boston, Massachusetts in 2015. You have all the information you need now to create the reference entry for that source. You can do it manually by taking an APA handbook and typing in all the information, where it goes, how it's supposed to look. You can use the references function in Microsoft Word to help you create the reference entry for it. You can go to a website, type in all that information, and it'll spit out the reference entry for you. I don't care how you do it, because in the real world, when you're writing a research paper, it doesn't matter how you do it, right? As long as it's done correctly. So you know what each type of source is and all the information you need for each of those 6 sources. So however you choose to do it, create the proper entry for each source in APA format, and then take those 6 sources and put them on a references page. Create a references page as if it's the end of a research paper, right? You used these 6 sources in a hypothetical research paper. Now you're showing me the reference page for it. So not only does each entry need to be formatted correctly, but the whole page does. So make sure that you are adhering to the requirements of a reference page formatted in APA style. I have even given you a sample reference page. It's attached underneath the assignment instructions in a Word document. So you can pull that up and you can see visually how the reference, what I want you to model yours after, what I want it to look like. Obviously it's different sources, so that part you can't, that's going to be different. But how it is formatted, so the title, the font, the spacing, how they're listed on the reference page, all of that, right? So again, I've done most of the legwork for you. You're not having to go out and find these sources. I've given you all the information you need to create each entry. So do that, create each entry, and then format all of them on a references page according to APA format, right? All right. Next item for homework this week is Week 9 Assignment 2, Sample Essays. So we've been talking about how to go from writing standalone paragraphs to writing full essays. You have already written 4 formal standalone paragraphs, and for the final exam essay, you're going to have to write a full essay. So this is a little more practice with how to go about writing an essay. There are 8 essays that you'll need to read. They are each listed as links below the assignment instructions. So there's 8 of them. And then the very last link, the 9th one, is the assignment sheet that you can download and fill in your answers on, right? Okay. So you have 8 essays. The first 2 essays, Halloween and Chili Time, are evaluation essays. So for each of those, you'll answer the questions that are listed underneath each one. So for Halloween, what is the essay's topic? What is the thesis statement? What is the first criteria and evidence? Second criteria and evidence? Third criteria and evidence? And then the 6th question says, does the author provide any additional criteria? If so, list each additional criteria and evidence. These should be very brief answers, right? I don't want long, drawn-out responses about the evidence that they use. Just sum it up. So, for instance, if one of the criteria for Halloween is that the acting is good, you don't have to give me this long, drawn-out explanation of how they prove the acting is good. Just briefly tell me, what do they do to convince us that the acting is good in the movie, right? So very brief answers for all of these. So Halloween and Chili Time are the 2 evaluation essays. Texas Chili and 5 Steps to Addiction Recovery are the process analysis essays. Parenting 101 and Singapore and Trinidad are the compare and contrast essays. And Baseball Fans and Breakfast Foods are the classification essays. So that's the 4 types of paragraphs that you had to write for the formal writing assignments. And now you're going to be choosing, for the final exam essay, you're going to choose one of those paragraphs you wrote and turn it into a full essay. So you're going to end up writing one of these 4 types of essays. So I've given you 2 examples of each type of essay to read and answer some questions about. None of the essays are long. They're all student examples, so they're on the shorter side. They're not complicated, but there are 8 of them. So you do want to budget your time in case you don't really feel like sitting down and doing all 8 at once, right? But just do your best to pay attention to how each type of essay works, right? Okay. The last item for homework this week is, of course, the Week 9 discussion. And this is kind of a follow-up on what we've been talking about with research in APA format. So the discussion question says, look closely at the list below on other types of source abuse. Which of these abuses is most common, both in academic and the world at large? Choose 2 to 3 of the source abuses and academic offenses and explain where you see them show up. School, news, social media, wherever. And how does it affect the author's credibility, and how does it affect us as readers or viewers? So if you look through this list under other types of source abuse, we have misstating a source, using a source out of context, overusing source material, relying too heavily on one source, and it goes down with a few more types. So for each type of source abuse, I've explained what it is and then given you an example. So read through those, right? And then think to yourself, which ones do I see the most? Which ones do I see committed the most? Either in school, in the news, social media, what have you. Pick 2 or 3 of those source abuses and explain to us where you see them show up and how you think it affects the author's credibility and how it affects us as readers or viewers. Try to have that question answered and posted by Thursday night at 11:59, so that way everyone has plenty of time to respond to two classmates before the discussion closes Sunday night at 11:59. If you have technical difficulties with anything this week, try to get in touch with me as soon as possible so we can get that resolved. If you have any questions in general about the work for this week, reach out to me and I will help you as best I can, okay? Good luck.